Hi guys, welcome back to CountyLine Farming. Today we're doing a little bit of everything on this beautiful day here on the farm. Been doing quite a bit of pressure washing between a couple different guys, and Dad's been working in the shop and I've been doing a lot of feeding and whatnot. 4430 number 1 and also 4430 number 2 are completely washed and ready to go. John Deere 4030 and Pat's 420 mixer my cousin washed yesterday. Got it all cleaned up and they serviced it last week. Completely ready to go. Cousin washed my skid loader this morning. Bryson's washing 2 tractors right now, and we're gonna start feeding. Fed about 3:34 this morning before dairy judging today. About 4:30, 5 o'clock right now, so we'll get feeding them again. Relatively warm, so they're not eating quite as much, but they're still eating a good amount, so let's get to it. The first batch mixed up right now. We're putting molasses in. Opened up a new alfalfa hay bag, and it's still the same quality, just a little bit drier. It weighs less. Just have to keep that in mind when we switch over from the other stuff we were feeding. We're still feeding out of 2 corn silage bags. We're feeding about 2/3 of the corn silage down by the big barn, and then about 1/3 of it coming out of that bag right now. So putting minerals in, and we'll feed pens 4, 7, 8, 10, and 5 on first batch. Second batch we feed pens 6, 9, and 3 in the order and I just said. So feeding the younger calves or younger heifers on first batch. Second batch gets going to the older heifers. Here's what we're looking like, all mixed up. Really nice stuff. So not quite completely full, but just about. Second batch. All done feeding. Already fed the calves. Good stuff. So I got a beacon wired up. It goes to the cigarette lighter charger. Comes out the door. Goes right up here. You can barely even see it. A little piece of tape in a couple spots. Got the radio for the CB cables coming out, going down to the battery, so we just ran it with that. Door shuts easy, runs up down in the crease over there. It's a perfect 10 feet, and then the beacon is right there. There's just a little button on the beacon to turn it on and off, so you just have to turn it on and off out here, but not the end of the world. And if you leave it on, it won't matter because it won't be charging out of the tractor when the tractor's not on. So if you leave it on, it'll just be dead, and then once you start the tractor, it'll start again, so it's not the end of the world there. So if this works out, we'll buy a couple more and put on the other tractors. So it's about 8:30. Bryson got done with that 2 tractors. I did a bunch of other loader work. bedded a bunch of cattle and whatnot. So about 8:30, so we'll go in. So it's the end of the week now. Beginning of the week, we did the yard mode. Got this thing ready. The end of the last week, got it all cleaned up. It's a little bit dirty now since we did some mowing, but we got that done. Got some rain the last 2 days, and we're gonna go out and do chores right now and do a little scraping and bedding. It's very windy, as you can hear. So we're up here in the freestyle barn. We always scrape with the LS 170 up here and a smaller manure bucket right into this pit right here. We scrape it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Justin usually scrapes about 7 in the morning. So then we scrape last thing on Saturday usually. But in this scenario, we're gonna scrape right before Dad feeds. Dad's gonna feed tonight. So we'll move all the cattle over to the back of the barn, and then we'll scrape the front, and then move them back to the front and scrape the back. Always scrape the front first. That way when you come down through, it pushes a little bit on the other side, and then when you back drag, you can get it. Because the way the gates are more towards the front than the back of the barn. So I got all the cattle moved over that side. If you do it right before feeding, about a half hour before feeding, or any time in between, typically they're laying down mostly on that side. But if you do it right after feeding, then you're gonna fight with them to get them on that side. So it's easier if you come through this time of day and do it. And when you scrape, you just scrape it all from that end. You have to back drag, turn around, and then scrape 2 or 3 times down with the bucket. Push it all down here, go out there and turn around and push it back in, and then turn around and clean up each side because the concrete goes up that way just a little bit so it doesn't run over. And then your spot that's right here, and then you can go ahead and push that all in and clean it up nice. So we got it all done scraping. On the weekends when there's not quite as much manure compared to during the week, it probably takes about 25 minutes. Probably takes about 35 minutes when there's a little bit more manure. During the week, Justin's scraping. But there wasn't any sand for him to put in. Friday usually puts sand in, but truck driver ain't got any here yet, so he'll probably have to just put some in probably next Wednesday or something. Which is fine because there's plenty of sand still in there. So. Just gotta go push up feed, and Dad's working on first batch right now. up the feed on this side, and then this side we pushed up the feed. We just put there's just not much feed left, but they had a little bit. When you build these barns, you can either put tile along the bunk or just leave it cement. Next time, if we build another barn, we'll probably have it tiled because they start eating this away just a little bit. But as you can see, it's still pretty clean. Most of it still goes in the bucket, but just where they lick it eventually wears down. But about every 2 weeks I come in here, and sometimes every week in the summer, a lot of it builds up back here. But you can just bring this bucket in here and go down along and clean it all out, which if you had a wall on this bunk, you'd have to shovel it out. So it's an advantage of having one with this barn like this. Looks like it's just starting to rain out right now, so that's nice. But we'll come back up, and Dad will be up here in about 5 minutes to feed, and we'll put a little bit more hay down for these guys, put pellets down for these guys, and then put some pellets down in pen 8 also. So we got a new group of Holstein smaller heifers cattle in this last week. Only about 20 in this group, but this summer they're supposed to start bringing a little bit more than that. So these guys have got the whole bottom of the barn the way we got the cattle moved around right now. We got quite a few in the big barns. So anyways, they get hay and just a little bit of silage right now. So we'll get that done, and then we'll go ahead and feed our pellets up in the other barn. Got the hay down for pen 10. This hay is the stuff my uncle baled for us. It's third cutting grassy alfalfa hay. It's from 2 of them fields that we planted triticale, so that's what that stuff is. They seem to like it pretty good. There's a couple bales that are super grassy, and there's a couple that more alfalfa, so get a little bit of each in there. So pen 8 does have quite a few jerseys in it. We had all the jerseys down at Third Heifer Farm, but since there's only about 20 down there and we're gonna get busy in another month, Dad decided just to bring them all home and just keep the barn here at home full. See, they all have room to eat, and there's maybe 1 or 2 that go in and out, so the pen's full. Instead of having cattle down there and the barn only being a quarter of the way full or so. So that's what we ended up doing. We have plenty of room under the bank barn if we need it, so that's what we end up doing there. So we've got about 80,000 pounds out of this bag out here so far. There's still quite a bit to go. It doesn't end till down there, so about 3 more loads and we'll be out of the mud, and we'll be over here where it's a little bit better to deal with. So a little moist now, but it should start drying up a little bit more. So we got all the heifers under the barn here fed. Got plenty of room to eat the whole way down through. Dad's going up to the second heifer farm to finish feeding. And we got the scrape and bed pen 3, and then we'll load up the spreader with liquid manure. So Justin has room to scrape in the pit Monday, and we'll probably haul that middle of the week next week when the pit gets full again. So other than that, don't have a whole lot to do. Tomorrow we'll have quite a bit to do. So this spreader is relatively clean, but we'll probably end up cleaning it up before we start getting busy chopping in the spring here, since we did have to haul some liquid with it, and it gets really crappy when you haul liquid manure with it. So we'll probably clean that up, and then I'm taking this tractor to tractor day, so I'll have to get that cleaned up here in about a month, and then we'll probably clean it again right before to get it super clean. So it's not horrible though. This whole tractor and spreader, I guess this one's clean too. But we got the new bearing on here. I don't think I showed you guys it when it fell apart, but what happened, the all new air bearing by Kuhn Buy a 8124 side slinger with free air bearings. Puppy snapped her right off. Lovely. It was either the top or the bottom piece side of this. It was about halfway cracked, and on that load for some reason it decided to completely come off. See, we got a little cap on there, so hopefully it takes grease good then. Then Dad laid a little weld in here because it put a hole through this side, because this wasn't really turning right when this thing here broke. It's kind of screwed up over there just because it's kind of wore out. Everything a little wore out on the spreader, so. Anyways, we got stuff in here good. We'll get her loaded up and stick her back in here. Self-shutting door, I guess. I think the Marcus missed a little spot here. It's alright. We'll get her next time. It'll get dirty again. The guy that was hauling manure with it before the tractor broke completely covered the whole side of the tractor. I might have done that, but yeah. So she's clean now. This tractor was in the shop getting some wiring stuff done with it. Dash wasn't working and some other small things, so we finally got that figured out. So we can haul manure with it now. I was gonna put 1066 on here, but we gotta try this out before we actually really need it, make sure everything works good on it. And then we can put everybody's favorite tractor on the farm on it, so. Anyways. Got the spreader all greased up also when it was cleaned up. Got it super clean this time. Sometimes you don't always get it clean, but it's all super clean because this under here gets dirty also. And getting all this clean, it takes a while, but I got it done, so. That way next time it doesn't have to be spotless that way. There is like a kind of a tint to it just because kind of need a hot water pressure washer, some soap, and hand wash it to get it actually clean, but it's a manure spreader, so it doesn't really matter. This video is going to be pretty up to date since it's coming out tomorrow, and today's Saturday, tomorrow's Sunday, so we'll get her loaded up here out of the old pit and fill her up. See if we can get her all dirty for the first time. That's about all the fuller you're gonna want the spreader. It's almost coming off the sides and the front. There's about 1.5 feet in the back. I usually just try to load them all in the front. That way I can get it over close enough. Make it simpler. Got her dirty on the first load. But We just gotta scrape these holding pens and then we'll do 3 then. So we may end up just driving down the driveway in the back of the farm to unload it. It might go to Red Hall. It might be dry enough to haul here. We'll just see what the weather's like next week, but we don't need to haul it till then, in case the weather gets better. And if it doesn't, it's not really fit to haul anyways anywhere, so it's not gonna really matter much. Pen 3, scraped, bedded, scraped holding pen for 3 and 4 out here. Let them back in. Already got the L220 up with the far corn silage bag. We're gonna go ahead and bring feed out tonight, so I don't have to do it tomorrow. So we'll go ahead and take the 40/30 up there and get it loaded up. We can put about 8 ton of corn silage on the mixer, and we can bring about a half a ton of it back, so we can almost get 9 ton. If we're fully loaded, we can get 9 ton moved. This thing's pretty full though once she's fully loaded, so make the trip worth it for sure though. So we got this little culvert here, but it's not quite wide enough to go across with the mixer. I just put it in so we can drive across with a skid loader, since it's so soupy back here, to keep this hole drained. And we're just driving up there. It's a little bit more soupy than it usually is. You can drive through that, but I can't get through it fully loaded. I could probably get about 4 or 5 ton through there, so probably that's what we'll do, and then we'll just but we usually I usually got to load it up about halfway and then load the rest on the other side of this kind of ditch here. So this is how much we got fed out. We'll just cross. It's just like an inch deep of water right there, so it's not bad. It's kind of a mess in here to get it out, but it's not horrible. So it's really good corn silage though right now. It's about 2 or 3% dry or wetter than I'd like it, but that other stuff's a little on the dry side, so it comes out to be about perfect when we mix it together. You guys can see though how packed in I've got it. So it fermented really nice and got packed in there very tight too, so save a little bit on bags that way also. So we got 16,000 on here. That doesn't include what's on the front conveyor here. The conveyor doesn't, what's on the conveyor isn't on the scale. This stupid GoPro is not working correctly, so I lost a lot of footage. I always push what's on the top off. That way it doesn't start hard. That way it's easier on it unloading. And you just unload on idle. That way you don't overflow the conveyor, since it's corn and it's real heavy. We leave about 1,300 pounds in when we're done. Is that way in the morning when Dad feeds, he has that much less corn silage to put in. That's about how much corn silage of that corn silage we need in the next batch. A little higher, but since it's already in the mixer, you can mix a little more in it, I suppose. And then he'll put his other 2 ingredients in then. So makes it go just a little bit faster since you don't have to put another scoop or 2 in. So of course it started sprinkling again after I got the corn out, which I don't know. It's not gonna get any drier back there, so it's not really gonna dry up much tomorrow. So it's probably better I got it out even though it rained anyways. Right by the bin, so we got a little light, what the after product looks like. End of the concrete's right there. Try to keep it in a decent sized pile so it doesn't collect as much moisture. It's kind of the idea. You spread it out a long ways and it's probably gonna collect more moisture. And keep it up this way, that way it doesn't catch any water running down through. So try to keep it as close to the mixer as we can since we're handling it more than once. Can't really put it down there because sawdust and manure's down there. could put it up farther. Probably would be easier to unload, but then you'd have to drive farther to put it in the mixer. So it's just what we do. Works out pretty good. So another week in the books. Next week's gonna be the first week of April. Snacks for the help today, so I'm stocked up there, keep the employees happy. So Bryson got the 4630 wash the other day. It's decently clean. Got a couple spots that need cleaned up a little more, but it's gonna be on the planter, or a planter, I guess, so it's not really gonna matter. And then Dad put these weights back on because there's a bolt's missing, the whole thing is about ready to fall off. So we got that all done. And then this thing basically ready to go then. I just need cab filter yet. And then it'll be ready to roll. Looks like Dad's got the seat for the 2520 here. He's working on this, getting it all put back together, ready to roll. Probably just gonna be running a seed or fertilizer wagon this year. Maybe a little bit of an auger, but nothing big for that tractor. This one, fuel tank's going back together, wire and harness is going back together. So it'll be done about another week. Got 2 pallets of corn seed, 2 pallets of bean seed, and 2 pallets of sedan grass in this week. Fertilizer spreaders back in here. Put new pulley bearings on. I think that's a little bit shot, as you can tell. That's probably why we're fixing it. But we gotta get this fixed so we can get fertilizer on the wheat and triticale. We got about 320 acres of that to cover. We got about 110 acres of wheat. About 215 or so acres of triticale. Backhoe here, still apart, getting the extend hoe fixed. This is probably last on the list out of everything in here because we don't really need it right now anyway. So that's where we are in the shop. So Dad's not got a lot left to run through the shop, just maybe a thing or two. But probably got to pull the corn planter in here and make sure it's good. We only ran on about 50 acres, so shouldn't need much. And the soybean planter, we don't got to do jack diddly to it because, well, it might be, well, hopefully we don't have to. New one hasn't showed up yet, but hopefully some new equipment shows up this week. So kind of got a lot sitting around that needs to be gone and traded, so. So anyways, Dad bought a tractor. It's in the other shed. I'll have to show you some other time, but just a little utility tractor. So my cousin and Dad got all the silage wagons greased. So the beginning of the week, mowed the yard the beginning of the week, I don't know, like 27th of March or whatever it was. I think Tuesday. And so we got all that done. Probably have to mow again next week, get some more branches picked up from the windstorm. That's where we are there. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope to see you in the next video.